Good morning, side friends. This is Mitty Man coming at you again from Walker's Music. Yet another word for today, Saturday morning edition. We give God all the praise and honor and all the glory for life, health, and strength. We thank Him for as well as it is. And you also, we thank Him for each and every one of you. Side friends, you know who you are. In other words, if you look at the title of my video this morning, it said, A Perfect World. A Perfect World. In other words, we want to say that there are many things in life, and I'm just going to be real honest and to the point this morning on this subject matter. Not going to beat around the bush. We got a lot of people, and we have been through a lot of things, and we know that through our lifetime, through our whole lifetime, we go through ups and downs. Life is a roller coaster ride. They always told me. Matter of fact, I've heard many crooks and bends. But nevertheless, we thank God for each of those turns because, see, first of all, this is why I get this topic this morning about a perfect world. You see, people, if we live in a perfect world, that would be none of the ups and downs that we have to deal with and go through on this life journey. And all of us at one time or another have been deceived by someone or something, somebody. We've taken people to be our true friends when really and truly they were not your true friend. But don't hold that against them. Don't hold that against them because it's the point of the matter is that we are living in a broken world, people. We're living in a broken world. Matter of fact, God didn't create a broken world. God created a perfect world. But it was no longer perfect after Adam sinned. After Adam sinned through disobedience, the world became cracked. In other words, it became cursed. We are living in a cursed world right now. This is how come, people, that we have, and I know it's hard sometimes, and we don't want to see it this way, but really and truly, and I want y'all to listen to me very carefully, really and truly, people are not your problem. Believe it or not, people are not your problem. Satan is your problem. Satan and sin is your problem. That's the brokenness of this world that we're living in. It used to be a perfect world. God created a perfect environment. He created a perfect world. But ever since sin came in, it became cursed. And this is how come we got the jealousy, the murder, the hatred, the lying, all these things that we have to go through during our lifetime. I was sitting here this morning thinking about back in my school days, even all the way back to elementary school. It's amazing God gave us a mind that is so complex. It's stronger and it's more complex than any supercomputer that you can find on this earth. The mind. And God is great. But I was just sitting back and that catapulted me back over 40 some odd years. To be exact, let's go on and put the real psalm on there. Let's go on and put the equation together. It put me back some 48 years. All the way back to first grade. Ain't that so? That's just how complex that mind is. And it's just as vivid as it was yesterday. 48 years. I can remember coming up through school in first grade when we all was reading out of the Sally Dick and James book. And we used to use, I know young people don't know nothing about this, but we used to use an abacus. Y'all remember that? Those at my age, you remember the abacus. You remember that. We used to use that to do the counting and everything, and the shapes and the stuff. We learned the shapes and everything, and we used to sing the different lullaby song, nursery rhyme we call them, but they were learning songs. And all the way back then, and I'm thinking about my first grade teacher, Miss Julia Smith. In other words, I had two Smiths. They were sister-in-law. One was my first grade teacher. Her name was Big Julia. And the other sister-in-law, my second grade teacher, we call her Little Julia because she was so short. Short in stature, but a giant in the educator. Matter of fact, I had the privilege and the honor to play for my second grade teacher's funeral not too many years ago. And her name was Julia, like I said, Big Julia, Little Julia. And but they were Smiths, in other words, of a prominent family in this area. And Big Julia's husband, his name was Homer Clyde. And Little Julia was also my principal. Her husband was also my principal. His name was James B. Smith. In other words, those people, they still having engagement in different events at the school that I graduated from, the old school, at the Henderson High. I come from Henderson, that was later named Randolph County Comprehensive. But they still having events out there at the James B. They call it the James B. Smith Complex right now. But what I'm saying, people, in a perfect world, there would be no jealousy. There would be no envy. There would be no strife. There would be none of this stuff. And even till we went through all throughout school and we had our little old bit of schoolyard friends, and we would get upset with each other. And then, you know, when we got on to high school and we would let that little jealousy, it would always rise up in them because there was always somebody that was a little bit better than you. And then we had certain one we would get upset because of the guy that could jump the highest. And I was one of those guys that considered that to be a great jumper. I was very, very, I could jump. I had some, I don't know what it was. I don't know if I had deer legs or what, but at any rate, I could jump. But, you know, all this kind of stuff, you know, when you was good at something, people that wasn't so good at something that you were, they would have a tendency, most of them, to become jealous of you. And then they would try to do little bit of things to demean you or demise you, or matter of fact, sometimes even to hurt you to a degree. Well, in high school, you dealt with it. In grade school, you dealt with it. In high school, it became a little bit more prominent because of the fact then when those hormones start kicking in, and then everybody started having interest in boys and girls, you know, in another sense. You know, you start looking at the one that had the the guy that always, he looked like to me, he always had the best girlfriend, they dated the prettiest girl, or the prettiest guy, the girl, you know, on the other side. All that kind of stuff will come up in us, envy and the jealousy. It started brewing, even down in that age. That's where it all started at. Well, most of the time, as we grow up and get older, we get more wisdom sometimes. But most of the time that don't happen, people. Because why? We're not living in that perfect world that we think we are in. In other words, we going off to college, and matter of fact, I'm a living witness. I've been to two of them, and I met different people here and there. I called them friends. Some of them weren't friends. People that you thought were your friend, you find out 30 years later they didn't even like you. Yeah, come on, amen. I'm a witness. You find out 30 some odd years that they didn't care nothing for you because they showed you by the way they treat you and they act with you. But you know what? Don't hold them responsible. Don't hold them responsible. I got some people that I know that in my school and my last college when I went to, some dear people that I met. One was I always talk about him. Y'all know about Dr. Peffel. Dr. Peffel, he was my instructor of music theory, arranging, conducting, composition. I took composition seminar where I met with him privately on every Friday afternoon. We met for an hour in his office, and we did composition. He would teach me composition. Dr. Peffel I would always consider him a great friend, great instructor, great professor, and a real true friend, I believe. Matter of fact, I always considered him as a friend. And matter of fact, even now, Dr. Peffel this year, matter of fact, in a couple of more months, not too many, after this end of this year school year, he's supposed to be retiring, and we give him hats off, because I know a great instructor and a great musician as well. My instructor, my first piano teacher, Constance Rose, Jim Rose, her husband, was my first music theory teacher at Andrew, my junior college. And old Miss Rouse. Oh yeah, that's my second piano instructor at Berry. Those people. And my dear friend Dot Acott, all the kitchen staff that was at Berry. I loved them. But people, as we grow older, and I don't want to make this video too long. It's getting too long. Excuse me for that. What I'm saying, that everybody, not your friend, but they can deceive you, and once you find out sometimes that people, how they treat, some people let friendship dissolve over foolish things. And I've always thought, now this just me, man, I got to say it, I've always tried not to let personal things get in the way. I mean, I don't have to agree with you on everything that you do, but I don't dislike you either. I don't go that route. That's just something that I've never done. I mean, I'm not going to agree with you on everything, but I'm not going to dislike you just because you don't see things the way I see them. I can still be your friend and not go along with what you got, what your plans are. But you know what, people? Everybody's not like that. That's that broken world we're living in. But what I'm saying this morning, and I hope that this falls on the ear of many that might be thinking about stuff in the past. You can't do nothing about the past. You can't change it. You cannot change. You cannot undo what has been done. But you can do something about right now and from this day forward. So in other words, if you have anyone that you had something against, you had some awe against, they did something to you that kind of made you mad or upset you, even if it was unjustifiable, forgive them. Just forgive them. It only hurts you. I know that I'm talking from experience. I have had people that I've hurt that God knows, I wish that I could go back and do it all over again. But guess what? I can't. So I'm not going to torment myself right now because of what I've done in the past. But I have made a vow to never to let that happen again in the future. Oh yeah, because see, I've learned from the past. I learned from the mistakes I've made to not repeat them again in the future. So this is what I'm telling all of you, the one that, hey, whether I'm a friend or whether I'm not a friend, well, I might be fooling myself, but that's all right. I don't hold it against you because really, guess what? We're not living in a perfect world. But one day, Jesus has already paid the debt, and he's already fixed it. In other words, he said in John 14, he said, I go to prepare a place. And if I go to prepare that place, I will come again. People, there's going to come a day when all what God creation that he made from the beginning going to be just the way he meant for it to be from the start. It's going to be a perfect world again. But until that happens, we're going to have to just deal with it by the grace of God. In other words, don't blame people. They're not your problem. But you got a big devil out there. He's your problem. So when you see people cutting the fool and acting crazy and doing all kind of manner of evil against you, and if you know you haven't done anything to them, don't worry about it. It doesn't feel good. God knows it doesn't. It hurts when you find out the people that you thought was with you, and they find out to be liars. But don't hold it against them. It's not them. They can't help themselves because they're being used by the devil. So in other words, if you're going to blame somebody, blame that old enemy. Your real enemy is the devil. Your real enemy is not Mitty Man. Mitty Man's real enemy is not you. Our real enemy is the devil. And until we come to the Master, and his name is Jesus, we'll always be messed up, not knowing how to treat people, doing old dirt to people, talking about people behind their backs and all that kind of stuff like that. That stuff we should not even take part of. But remember, if you are taking part in it, remember, it's not you. It's not you. It's not me. But it's us letting the devil work through us. And we got that old envy. We just get just because somebody might be a little bit better at something than you or me, we want to get mad and get jealous and start trying to dig ditches for them and all that kind of stuff. That should not be, people. And remember, I'm going to cut this video off right here. Remember, there will be another perfect world, but it's only when Jesus comes. When Jesus comes, everything going to be made all right. So until then, if you want your world right now to be what we could say heaven on earth, you got to come to Jesus. You got to give it and turn it over to Jesus, and he'll make it all right. This is Minute-Man saying to the next video, next Bible study, whichever comes first. Remember, I told you now, whatever you get into, if God ain't in it, you better come out of it. But remember, your real enemy, the devil, peace, the